All right, it is episode 17 of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show with Jonathon and Travis Cunningham. Travis, how's it going? And more importantly, who is the first number 17 that comes to mind when you think local dirt track racing in Southern Ontario?
For me, and it goes perfectly with this weekend's upcoming show at Humberstone Speedway. It's Pete Costco and Jordan Costco now. So Pete Costco Memorial at Humberstone this Sunday. Big show coming up at Humberstone. Going to be fun. Hopefully you can be on the mic with me again. I think you can. And yeah, Pete Costco for me and Jordan.
Yep, I'm going to be there for that one, and that's a good pick. I'm going to go with past guest Josh Slider in the 17 Mod Light car. That 17 sees a lot of victory lane lately. So it's been a busy couple days in the dirt racing world. We had the Sprint Car Nationals, NASCAR Pinty Series on dirt, regular scheduled programming at Merrittville, and it all started on Friday night with the Middleport Mechanical Thunderstocks running the uh, Brock Leonard Memorial race. So that's how far back we're going here. It feels weird to talk about Friday at Ohsweken after a Monday and Tuesday show at Ohsweken, but we got to start there, right? So shout out to Justin Ramsey, brings it home, winning it after 50 laps over Ryan Beagle, Dave Bailey, Jim Lampman, and Mark Fawcett. That's your top five in the Thunder Sox in the Brock Leonard Memorial.
Yep, I watched that one live. Ramsey just ripped the top and he became the only the first person ever to win it twice. I think the first 8 times they ran it,
Mm-hmm.
it was 8 different guys, and Ramsey won it twice for the first time on Friday. So that's a cool little stat he got there. And yeah, he smoked them. And then Beagle second, Bailey third. So Beagle technically was first Ohsweken car across the line.
Nice. Over on the 602 Sportsman Modified Series, the Race of Champions, Cody McPherson gets it done at Ohsweken at the Sportsman on the Big O. Justin Sharp brings it home second. Billy Bleach third. Adam Leslie fourth. Jay Mallory rounds out your top five there.
Yep. Uh, Adam Leslie led early on that one. And then he was rolling the bottom, and then Justin Sharp got around him on the top. And then it became like a 3 car battle for the lead. Cody got in there. Cody had to come from a little farther back. And some lap cars got in the mix and slowed Sharpie down on the top. And that let Leslie and Cody get by, and then that's when Cody got the lead, and then Sharpie got back by Leslie for second, and then Bleach got by Leslie for third. So then, yeah, that was it. Basically, it. Good show there. If those lap cars, I think Cody probably still would have got Sharpie, but it would have been a little interesting if Sharpie didn't get messed up on the lappers.
Yeah, it was an exciting night of racing. Like I was watching it live Friday on GeForce as well, uh, getting ready to go to Ohsweken myself for the first time in a few years. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I'm watching live and have stuff fresh in my memory. And that sportsman race did stick out. The other one that stuck out was Mac Demand's performance in the crate sprints. I mean, he was driving the was it the Austin Rose machine, right? The 3RS. Austin's usually in
Mm-hmm.
that vehicle, and Mac was shaking it down for him. And what a result! Started on pole, led. I think he led pretty much all 20 laps. I don't remember him losing the lead. He wins it over Lucas Smith, Jacob Dykstra, Jesse Costa, and Eric Gledhill.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he lost lead either, but Lucas Smith was definitely giving a run for his money, and they were definitely racing close for a little bit of the race. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about the 360 guys dropping down. Like, I am a modified guy at heart, a little bit, and like you
Mm-hmm.
never see modified guys running down, dropping down their own sportsmen. You know what I mean? And I know they do it up there, but I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not gonna lie. And but yeah, good to see Mac pick up the win. It was his kind of track. First night there was the seems like there was a cushion that held all the way around on that Friday. Sucks that the 360s weren't there, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's Mac's track.
Well, well, let's get into that. Let's get into that idea that the idea of the 360 guys dropping down, because obviously you are seeing a lot more sprint car racing and a lot more familiar with that field racing at Ohsweken on Friday nights. Whereas I if at Merrittville Speedway it's kind of something extra special, right? So the field can get a little bit jumbled. It's not the same cast of characters we might see regularly. But for me, it doesn't I think like I'm okay with it because I know Mac was just helping out a buddy. It felt like at least that's how I took it from his Victory Lane interview, and that he was just really trying to make sure that Austin had good stuff going forward, and was ready for two big shows on Monday and Tuesday. So I think if it's occasional, it's not the end of the world. I don't think we're facing any sort of bushwhacking situation, right? Back in the day when you had the Cup guys going down and just running full seasons of the Bush series and just destroying things. I don't think that's what we're headed towards with crate sprints and 360s, but uh, I'm okay with letting this one slide. That's my take.
Yeah, I don't hate about like you almost go with the NASCAR rule. You can only do it 5 times or something, 4 times. You can make a rule like that. Right now they're allowed. Like Jacob's
Yeah.
running action sprint tour, but he's not running KOT for points. So that's how it is now. And then he's allowed to run because he
Hmm.
doesn't run the crate at Ohsweken weekly. So he just ran those two because it was action sprint tour. But yeah, Mac dropping down. Mac's been a
Yeah, they're
like
tour events.
360 steady dude for a while now, and that one felt a little different.
Fair enough. And then the other race on the night that night, Tyler LaFonzi wins yet another feature in the mini stocks. He wins it over Hughes, Tolton, Wade Thorne, and Dusty DeBoer. Um, there's not much to say about Tyler LaFonzi, man. Guys they've just got it figured out. All the TMR cars just got it figured out. We got to get Tyler or Kyle or even Clinton Barrick on. We got to that. You know what? That might be the off season. That might be an off season interview. We'll sit down the whole TMR team and get them to explain what exactly they're doing in this mini stock program that makes them so much better than everybody else.
Oh, they ain't gonna tell you. They'll tell us lies. That's what I would
Well,
be doing. Yeah,
we'll get
but
the diplomatic answers, and then maybe we can tug at the right strings. That maybe we'll get the proper
yeah,
answer.
but the race, Hughes, he was leading, and I thought he was gonna pick up his. Like they said on the broadcast, he had 10 wins already. That would have been his 11th, and all the other guys running the top, and LaFontaine could just roll the bottom, shortest way around, smoked them. Didn't really
Hmm.
smoke them, but just picked them off. And yeah, I was pulling for Hughes a little bit because I know him, and he ran a sprint car a little bit for a while. And yeah, couldn't quite get her done. Honestly, wins 6 on the year.
Well, I mentioned the dominance of LaFontaine and the TMR team, and we saw it on display again the next night at Merrittville Speedway in the Van Sickle Pet Value PV on the lane 4 cylinders. Kyle Rothwell wins in the 19 car, which that car was originally prepared, I believe, to be Hannah Rothwell's ride, and they are having all kinds of mechanical gremlins with it. I think has been the story through the year, and that it looks good on Saturday. I think I wrote the article basically saying that it was kind of a story of the tortoise and the hare, where LaFontaine was just slicing and dicing through the field, going super fast. And then I think with like 5 laps to go, he was finally able to get by Vincent Pagnotta, who was doing a great job leading out front. I got to give props to that 13 of Pagnotta. He's starting to really show something in that Mustang. I thought maybe he would be able to hold on to it. Then Rothwell gets the lead, or Rothwell gets past LaFontaine on the last lap. Uh, just played his patience perfectly. Both drivers up 12 spots from where they started, and yeah, Rothwell. I think that was feature win number 3 on the year at Merrittville. Again, I wrote the article. I should remember that, but yeah, Rothwell wins over LaFontaine, Pagnotta, Worstro, and good to see Anthony Kelly back in the top 5 in the mini stocks. And even shout out to we talked about the team TMR cars. Hannah Rothwell brought home 6, so I don't know if her feature win is not too far down the road yet either.
Yeah, if not this year, probably next year for sure for Hannah. And
Hmm.
yeah, would that be like 3 wins and 3 cars for Kyle then? Probably 96, 19, 114.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
pretty
think that
neat.
is 3 different cars that he has won in this year. That's impressive,
Yeah,
and I
I didn't see any
almost
of the race, so
it
I'll
makes me
trust
want
your
to.
review of it. I know that's 3. Yeah, 3 cars, 3 wins.
Yeah, and it makes me wonder where Kyle would be against LaFontaine in if he was able to run a full schedule or if he decided to run a full schedule. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh yeah,
did,
he'd be up there. It'd be close like always.
yeah, right. Because it kind of felt like last year was LaFontaine's year to chase Kyle, and Rothwell was the dominant car, and then this year it's switched because Kyle's not running. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I kind of hope that Kyle comes back and runs a full season. We'll have to ask him about that one day on a podcast and see if he has any plans to get back at it, or if he's sticking with running the business and running the race team, and that's good enough for him. Over on the Mod Light side, another dominant win for Brent Bigelow. Uh, guy was just guy's just so good in a Mod Light right now. And 16 cars, perfect. Sean Iftati, give Cheeseburger credit. He's been super consistent. He's right there again. Ryan Anderson with another top five after we were giving him a shout out for, I think, his first career top five a couple of weeks ago. And then, who was it here? My top five. I just scrolled past it. And it's Rob Meisner and Josh Slider rounding at the top five in the Mod Lights.
Yeah, my props there's got to go to Cheeseburger. Finished fourth, I think 2 weeks ago we gave him props, now second. So I'd love to see him in victory lane, not in a school bus and in the Mod Lights.
Yeah, for sure. Eh? Hoosier Stocks, Mark Fawcett makes it back-to-back wins at Merrittville Speedway in the 32, winning over Dave Bailey, Donnie Lampman, Go Fast Steeple, and Kyle Pelrine.
Yep. Who'd you say won that one again? I am lost on the Merrittville night. I'm not gonna lie.
Mark Fawcett won the Hoosier Stocks.
Oh yeah,
Um,
right.
and that was a night of survival, too. We had, what was it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars DNF, especially after there was an incident where Rob Murray, I'd have to go back and see if there was truly contact that spun him, or if it was just kind of like he was already loose and then somebody got into him, made him a little bit more loose than he should be, and then basically the whole field piled into a spinning uh, Rob Murray off of corner number two. So 8 cars left running at the end of that one, and some of them were still damaged at that. So
Oof.
it was definitely a minefield, that one.
Yeah, but no surprise to see Mark Fawcett in victory lane. So it sounds like he survived the war. And I've seen some. Those doesn't happen all the
Yeah.
time, but I've seen races like that in the old street stocks or Hoosier stocks, whatever you want to call them, at Merrittville.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so not a shock on both fronts.
Insane car count for the sportsman. Had to run a B feature on Saturday night, which was won by Spencer Smolders. Mitch Dumont, Terry Smith, Dan McKay,
Ooh.
Curtis Reason, and Chris Hawkins all came out of that one to make it into the main show. Cameron Lane, Jason Fairway, and Doug Walsh were the cars going home. So that would have been 27 cars total for the sportsman to show up and try to make the show on Saturday night. So really got to give it props to everybody in the sportsman division that have been putting together these fantastic numbers all year long. Really, the car count at Merrittville's been exceptional pretty much all year long. We've been lucky, uh, and we're getting some great competition because of it. Billy Bleach Jr. grabs his first win of the year and wins it over Taylor Vanderzanen, who looked like he might be able to hang on for most of that race. He was out front for a good portion of it. Taylor and Nelson actually switched cars. I was talking to Nelson pre-race. He sent me a message that he was piloting the 74, trying to shake down some setup stuff, and they gave the 35 over to Taylor. And obviously, with Van der Zandt started second, brought it home second. So whatever they got working on that 35 car, it is applicable to both drivers. So hopefully, the 74 is right there in line, not too far along. Um, Interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Justin Sharp and Cody McPherson rounded out the top five. But how about Billy Bleach Jr.?
Yeah, Billy's been around the sportsman ranks for quite a while now. Seems like he's been around the race car ranks forever. Back to the street stock days, I can remember when he was a young teenager running one of them. But yeah, he's starting to get into that. Definitely 1 year, one win or a couple wins a year kind of guy. And there he is, picked one off at Merrittville this
Mm-hmm.
weekend. I was super pumped to see that. And yeah, congrats to Billy. Always love to see Billy Bleaks Jr. win.
Yeah, definitely. And somebody that I think everybody was happy to see win on Saturday night. Dalton Slack gets his first career 358 modified win in the Core Pack merchandising 358s at Merrittville Speedway, winning it over Gary Lindbergh, Matt Williamson, Scott Wood, Ryan Susie. And Slack had to earn it, man. He had a late restart he had to survive. Uh, Gary just couldn't find a way around him. He got close, but it was never. I don't know. I just was really impressed with what I saw from Dalton. I know, like, even I heard him climb out of the car and say something like along the lines of, "Oh, I almost gave that one away" or whatever. But it never really felt like that, you know?
Yeah, it sounds like something my buddy Dalton would say. Spend every day with him at work. Him and his dad Bob hang out with them every single day. So it's super cool to see them getting their first win, and that's one I do know about. Like I know he was pumped all week. Like he's, oh man, I'm finally, because he just came back about a month ago, and then to pick up his first win after about a year off in the 3RS to collect his thoughts or whatever. I guess he'll be our guest this week on the podcast, so we'll ask him for sure there. But for to pick up a win within a month, I
Hmm.
knew he was pumped because now he's back into the handicapping, and he was psyched all week. I just kept telling him, just do your thing, man, just roll it, and couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was going to go to the race, and then I decided to stay home and watch Knoxville Nationals. Like, ah, could kill myself for that. But bummed I missed Dalton's first win, but pumped he's going to be a guest on the podcast this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be great to talk to him, but I think he's gonna have a lot to say. He was so fired up, and like I say, I just watching that, calling it in the tower, I was just so happy for him because you never know what we're seeing, right? With a guy, when you're seeing a first win, especially with a guy as young as Dalton is, you know, we could be talking about a driver who's on the level of a Matt Williamson, for example, or a Gary Lindbergh in 10 years from now. We don't know what Dalton's ceiling is, and it's just starting. Imagine all the starts, all the events, all the wins that a guy like Matt Williamson has. And, we know that any track he shows up to in any vehicle, he's a threat to win. Like, can we see Dalton Slack get to that level? Are we starting, is this the first step towards a career like that for Dalton?
I don't know about that. We'll have to ask Dalton that or get his opinion on it for sure. But I know he's a super quiet kid. And he doesn't like getting too pumped up about himself, and so I don't know how to even answer that question. But I know he's super stoked that he got his first win there, and I think I saw Joe Plaza comment on one of his posts and something like you win your first one, and then whatever, and then you win more, and then finally you're expected to win, and that's basically perfect. Plaza said it perfect on whichever post it was. I can't remember the wording specifically.
I do remember seeing that on social media about the idea of once you win your first one, that's how you kind of learn to win races, and once you learn to win races, then it's when you're expected to win. I thought that was great wisdom from Joe.
Yeah,
For
he
me,
nailed it.
I really think the the field of the modifieds is so tough that it really does benefit these young guys. That you know, I don't think we're going to see a lot of driver turnover in the next 10 years, and knock wood because we're getting to see so many great talents. But by the time like how old is Dalton right now? Like he's not. I don't even think he's 20 yet, right? No, he's still
No, he's going to be 19 in October, so still
right.
18. And I think Matt didn't win until he was 19. I think so. Dalton at 18. That's what we were thinking today. Like, if who would be the youngest winner ever in a 358 at Merrittville? And I'm not that
Ooh,
super stoked on history, but we got to ask someone like a Fran or a Shane Pierce or something. I should ask Shane before this podcast, but there could be someone like way back in the 50s or 60s or them or not, but I would never think about or something like that. But
yeah.
he's
It,
he's the youngest one I can think about in recent memory. And gotta love Dalton for not going like he went straight to modified, and it is hard to get your teeth kicked in learning like that. I
mhm.
did it the same way, and it sucks. And for him to pull through and get that win is dope. So proud of him.
So, what is that transition like going straight into the modifieds? Like, what were you running for your experience? What were you running before that you jumped right into a modified go
Oh,
karts?
just like Dalton, go karts. Yeah, uh, yeah. And it's just basically there is a different little bit driving. Like everyone that's been on the podcast that's been said they've driven both, right?
Yeah.
Has said that it's like such a different driving style between the one or the other. So you can learn the one and maybe get some wins, but then when you go to switch to the other one, maybe it's a little bit steeper learning curve than you were thinking. Whereas you can just start in the higher division and get your teeth kicked in a little bit harder, and yeah, eventually you pull it off.
Well,
I
especially if
never did, but
that's,
Dalton did super quick.
I mean, that's where if that's where you want to go and that's where you want to be, you may as well just go to it. I guess if you have the opportunity, right? That's the other part of it is not everybody has that opportunity to go and jump into
That's
something like
another part.
that.
Yep.
So, and I think we all know that the equipment is going to be top notch. We know that Dalton's going to be a top notch driver. He's going to have a lot of family experience and history he can depend on. And that's the other part of why I got so much faith in him. That could be starting we're just witnessing the beginning of an amazing career, maybe locally and maybe even further than that. But not to put too much pressure on the kid, I'll have to reel that in a
Yeah,
bit when we actually sit down with him here, so I don't scare him
reel it
away.
in, Johnny.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Just cheering for good
yeah.
stories, okay? We're cheering for good stories, and we got some good stories
Oh,
out
he's
of
already
the
made one. He's already got a great one.
right. We
Yeah.
got a good one from Ohsweken as well, as we had two awesome nights of racing. Uh, First of all, we had the Sprint Car Nationals, which we got to talk about. I'll make it quick. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna make you rehash things too much. But yeah, tough break for you. With I'm gonna I'm gonna explain it because you're not as kind to yourself on how you
Mm.
explain what happened. But uh, driver error, running the bottom side, really trying to hustle the race car. A little bit of damage, a little too more damage than maybe you guys thought. Couldn't get it fixed to get back out into the B main, and end up missing the Sprint Car Nationals. But that's okay. He came back, had a solid run the next night. But I think that's the kindest way I can put it for you, Travis, because I know what you'd say, and it's honestly I don't feel like having to censor the podcast.
Yeah, driver stepped on it. Like I honestly clipped
That's
the
okay.
wall first going into turn one on the opening lap, but then the tire didn't go flat right away. And then about lap 3 or 4, it did go flat going in three, and I almost spun out. And then I was holding on to it with a flat left front, and then I finally lost it because I was trying to rip the wheel out of my hand going into the corners. And I should have just putted around, and I would have made it. But no, I was trying to hug the bottom and go faster like the dummy. So get me get.
It happens. We got through it. Don't worry. You got another chance to redeem yourself in September as well, too. So
Mm-hmm.
that's coming up. Paulie Colagiovanni. We got to
Mm-hmm.
talk about. Again, I don't want to call him an invader because it always sounds so mean, but started up front. Guy was fast the whole time he was over at Ohsweken Monday and Tuesday, and he grabbed the win in the Sprint Car Nationals.
Yeah, another guest this week is going to be Paulie's crew chief that he just picked up recently, Kevin Loveys, and he's been around Ohsweken forever. Born in he's a Hamilton boy, and he's been crewing on sprint cars for the last easily over 20 years. Has spent time on the Outlaw Tour, and was Steve Poirier's crew chief before this, and Glenn Steyer's on multiple occasions. And yeah, Kevin's just a super smart guy with sprint cars, and Kevin needed that more than Paulie, I think, to be honest with you. And probably finished second to Ryan Turner the first one, and then just having Kevin in the mix just turned it up
Yeah,
just that little bit, and Paulie was able to sweep the weekend. And the second day was even more impressive, if you ask me, because he did it from eighth.
yeah,
The track was a little racier the next night.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the finish of that one where Stuart Friesen, another invader, we'll call him from NASCAR craft. Well, I keep calling it the Crafts and Truck Series, which it sounds like they're going back to the NASCAR, whatever Camping World Truck Series. Uh, he comes out, runs with us, gets off the dirt modifieds, jumps in a sprint car, and puts on a heck of a show. He was bad fast in that 52. Came from 10th place, got up to second, and I thought may have been able to get Paulie at the end there, but Paulie gave him a pretty solid block coming to the white flag, and I think that was just a racing deal in my opinion. What did you think of that scenario?
Yeah, going for 10 grand. Stu would have done the same. No doubt about it, going for the
Mm-hmm.
money. And yeah, Stu's no stranger to sprint cars. It's just been a while since he's run one, but he's got double digit ESS wins. He has a World of Outlaw wins at Ohsweken back in 2015. He's the only second Canadian to ever win an Outlaw race. So they don't call him Stu the Shoe for nothing. And he showed that wheeling her up to second and almost getting it done. But Paulie with the perfect block.
Yeah,
Paulie's a good shoe too. Wheelman as well.
absolutely. I was so impressed with what I saw from Paulie, the way he can just rip it around the track. Friesen would look bad fast on the top side. Corey Turner had a great run on the Monday night show, brings it home third. Jordan Thomas fourth, and Mitch Brown rounds out your top five, who was Carl Brown's pick. Carl Brown from 97.7 Hits FM. I brought him out to the Sprint Car Nats, and we were sitting right down in the front, got sprayed with dirt. That was one of the things I got to talk about this because it's been a long time since I've sat in the stands for a dirt race because I'm always in the tower calling it
Hmm.
for the most part. Or if I'm not calling it, I'm there to do a press release or something about it. So I haven't sat down in the stands in a long time. You kind of forget how much dirt gets sprayed on those front couple rows. Like we were in, I think, the eighth row going into turn one. I loved it because I could perfectly watch the cars like arc into the corner. And actually worked out really well when I was watching the Pinty series practices too. You could really see who was carrying speed into the corners. But yeah, it was so funny to be back in the stands and just watching a dirt race. And oh, it's fun.
Yeah, turn one at Ohsweken when the sprint cars are out there. That's the mud bullet zone. So keep your head up because you can those things can definitely hurt. But
I got a few of them, but it wasn't the worst experience. No.
it's not as bad as it used to be back in the day when Ohsweken get it a little heavier. But like the mud bullets back in, oh man, like the mid 2010s at Ohsweken, they could get some serious velocity behind them.
Yeah.
Merrittville's good for that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, it is. See, yeah,
Mud
Maryville, I've
bullets.
seen it. Sometimes you can watch it. Like, you can kind of watch even from the tower. You can watch it come through the fence there. You can see the clumps of clay and whatever else coming off the racetrack sometimes. But uh, I was really impressed with the race that was put on from the Ohsweken racetrack. It's so blacked over on the Monday night. All those sprint car laps really like just made that track like ice, which was not fun. I don't think for the Pinty series race cars that were trying to do their hot lap session. Shout out to Aaron Turkey, by the way, local boy, grabs the hot lap challenge win for running fast time, and that I think it was a 20-minute or 30-minute session on Monday night that
30.
yeah, right, 30 minutes that the Pinty's cars had. So. And I think Turkey went out and laid it down like within the first couple laps. Um, yeah, those cars basically the longer they ran, the slower they got. But uh, it was a good
That's
practice.
any
I'm sure
dirt
they
car
appreciate
really.
it. Yeah, right. It's always going to
Yeah, the
be as the
key.
track changes, tires wear
Yeah,
off.
if you're in a dirt car and you can go the same speed at the beginning as you do at the end, that's almost a guaranteed feature win. So
Yeah.
no shock to see him rip it off early. And I heard like there was no Pinty's officials around on Monday. I was hearing some things through the pits, so it was like tire prep central going on over there. And
Mm-hmm.
apparently Aaron had the best set of special tires there, Harry, and he picked up
Yeah.
the extra $1,500. And because like that was the main thing, that was one of the biggest talking points. We can get into that more later. It was like the tires on the Pinty's cars,
Yes.
rock hard.
Yeah. I think we'll
Like on
end the whole
Thursday, they were
conversation off.
soaked and siped and ground and prepped.
Yeah.
Monday they were different.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll touch on the Pinty series as the last kind of talking point because the Sprinker stuff was so entertaining. We got to talk about Mike Bowman putting on a show on Monday night, just crushing the field. I'm pretty sure it was it Monday there or Tuesday night where he won a feature because he went back to back in the Action Crate sprints, um, and I can't remember, but I thought I heard Adam Ross or Greg Calman say that that was the fastest feature win of all time. Like that was the fastest crate sprint
For the crate,
race. Yeah,
it's
I
possible.
think that pace that Bowman put on because he just was impressive, man. Like I'm reading the
Yeah,
article
when I
and saying Bowman was shot out of a cannon. Like that's the perfect way to describe him.
yep. Uh, I just think yeah, Dyksters they were so dominant in those crate sprints for so long, but now they've found their match, and it's Mikey Bowman. And tech was extensive. Everybody passed, so that can shut the railbirds up. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Bowman. So he's used to the dirt modifieds, right? Which is double the power and way less downforce. So half the
Mm-hmm.
power and way more downforce. It's not really a shock that he picked it up, being able to stick that thing really good. And yeah, almost 11-second lead the one night. I had audio in my trailer both nights, or I had video in my trailer both nights of the stream, but no audio. So I didn't pick up all the stuff Adam was saying. So if that was a lap record for the feature, that's super cool for Mike.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out which night it was because the Monday night there was a wreck, so I don't know how you technically score that. If
Yeah,
caution laps would
Tuesday
factor
went
in
green and
that, right?
checkered. So I bet you it was that
Yeah,
one.
that's what I'm thinking. So it must have been the Tuesday race was the fastest crate sprint. We'll double check that one, but I
That sounds
was
correct.
just so impressed. I'm so impressed with what I'm seeing out of Mike Bowman in the crate sprints. Like, I know he hasn't had like the most dominant season necessarily, but every time he does win, like the car is just perfect, and he's driving away. Like I watched him win a good one at Merrittville. That was a no doubter, easy to. Like,
Hmm.
it's just been impressive.
Yep, no doubt. But I know Mikey will be at Humberstone for sure this Sunday, and I know he wants to win in that modified too. So he's been running pretty decent in that as well, but had super bad luck as well in that thing. So I know he wants to
Hmm.
get back in victory lane in that thing too.
Yeah, and pretty similar finishes. I mean, Colagiovanni wins it on Tuesday night. Mike Bowman wins
Yeah,
it on Tuesday night. So the same guys were bad fast. And I don't know from your seat, but did Ohsweken feel like a different racetrack between night one and night two?
absolutely. There was way more bite on Tuesday, even though it was still pretty slick in the middle, but there was way more bite to be had on the top and the bottom. On the Tuesday, it was just a little bit different way that they watered it and stuff, and Doug even said it in the drivers' meeting that they didn't like the way that happened on Monday. It got a little bit too slick, so you didn't see quite as many moves. But then Paulie won from eighth on Tuesday. So, my opinion, Tuesday was perfect for the track. Not, I don't know, just because I suck when there's no bite anywhere. But Monday there was a little bit to get a hold of, and that's when I'm a little bit better.
Yeah, I thought the Tuesday night race was definitely Tuesday night racing was definitely the better of two nights. But if you like speed and you like guys just like really sending it, I felt like that's kind of what we got on Monday. I thought it was like glass
No,
and
the other way.
like I say. No, see, I know you. I know technically it is the other way, right? Like the fat. I
Because
think the
hot laps
speeds
on
were actually.
Tuesday was sending it, like, because that was
Yeah, absolutely.
because
Right.
no heat race. So we like I did not lift, and the track was there on Tuesday, like no lifting at all. Just drive around there and pray to God your motor's got enough steam to you haven't just scrubbed enough speed because the littlest little tweak could mean the difference between having to be in the feature. Like I got lucky and I got in hot laps, which I was dying to do, but like that B main was stacked. Friesen was in it, Kretschko was in it, so many
Mm-hmm.
guys were in it, hooping in, stacked B main,
Yep.
and to avoid that was everything. So and the track was perfect in time trials on Tuesday. That was the most wide open it was all weekend.
So from the fan perspective, like Monday night, when I say they were like sending it, it because the track was so glassy, it seemed like the guys were
Yeah,
barely hanging on to it. That's kind of what I feel like is you had to drive it a lot
yeah,
more
that's
rather
crazy.
than being able to just ride wide open and try to make that perfect time. Like I felt like every single time that the sprint car went into a corner, I was like, yeah, this guy could totally like spin it right around right now, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like it really felt like Monday they were on the edge of control. From a handling perspective, which I think would make sense why there was maybe less passing throughout the field. But like you say, Tuesday the track was just bad fast, and you guys could just absolutely rip it. And yeah, you were great. You had way better drive off on Tuesday. I don't know. I guess the track just played right into your hands, but that bottom line, sitting in turn one again, I could see the way you just drove off of, especially off of two and down the back straightaway, was way more effective the second night. So, yeah, I don't want to play
Yeah,
bias here, but whoever's prepping the track, if we can get more tracks like that for Travis in the future.
yeah, just a little bit. No, I thought the track was perfect. There was still stuff on the top side, and yeah,
And the
and then Pinty's
finishing,
race.
yeah, the finale of the whole shebang was the NASCAR Pinty's race, the Pinty's 100 NASCAR Pinty Series debut on the dirt. And right off the hop, I'm going to come up with a blazing hot take. That was the best NASCAR sanctioned dirt race, period.
I'll agree with you. I don't know. There could have been some. There's been so many truck races at Eldora that there might be one of them that was right there with it. But I just love the ones that are on dirt track. Like it blew Bristol out of the water. If you ask
Yeah.
me, like
Oh,
I will
yeah.
watch 100 million dirt races at Ohsweken. Like everyone's, they were slow, whatever. They raced great. I will say they raced great. They had a great
Hmm.
race, and I hate when they ruin Bristol. I hate that. I wish they would go to Eldora. It'd be more like Ohsweken. They'll never
Yep.
see them at Ohsweken, the real NASCARs, because it's border issues and so many different reasons. But yeah, I think you're definitely onto something there. But
So
I did love the trucks at Eldora too when they were there.
I think you're probably right. Like I think the trucks put on some decent shows at Eldora. I think it got a little bit stale towards the end because guys just started to figure it out more and more, and the more and more you
Yeah,
figure out
they
what you're
spun out
doing.
a lot more. I'll give it that. Like the
Yeah.
NASCAR Craftsman truck guys, I seemed like there was a lot more yellows and spinning out, and it's like, oh
Hmm.
my god. Like I even remember falling asleep when Stu Friesen won his race just because there were so many freaking yellows in the race,
Yeah.
and I was embarrassed with myself and missing Stewie's first win. But like you say, yeah, there was none of that as much, not even
Yeah.
close, with the
No,
Pinty's cars.
I think that was a lot of people's fears that if it would become a gong show if that race was allowed to carry on. But I'm gonna give. I see. This is where my fiance Kyra was disagreeing with me the whole night. She wanted a little bit more of a quicker yellow call on some of those spins where the field was coming towards cars that may have been rolling at the least. They were trying to get back up the banking and get it spun around and rejoin the field. And NASCAR's credit, in my opinion, they let a couple of things go that actually kept the flow of the race going. In my opinion, so I think that was a big factor in it. And the other thing I loved about the way Ohsweken raced last night was that there was multiple grooves. At the end of the day, you could run the bottom side and you could get up and kind of get alongside a guy and at least make it close. And they definitely searched around and started to find better lines. Like I know cutting down off the bank, off of three, and kind of cutting down towards the inside wall, coming onto the front stretch was popular by the end of the race. It wasn't exactly the way to go at the start of the race. Um, but there was two grooves and it reminded me so much of Bristol. Remember Bristol like 2013, 2014, where they all had to run the top side because they paved that track or
Hmm.
whatever they did to it. They reconfigured
Yeah, it
it
was
and it
very
was
similar.
right. And that was the same thing. So the top side was the dominant side. You had to cut to the bottom and then you had to try to drive up alongside the guy and hope your drive off on the bottom side was good. And that's the kind of race we saw. Like I was very, very impressed with what I saw. I thought it was a thrilling finish. Stewie almost got Trayton. Trayton gave him the old bump and run going into 3 and 4, and they had a great side by side battle right to the stripe. And Trayton Lapsovich, another young guy, wins the
Yep.
debut on dirt.
Yeah, I think that's his second win on the year. I think he won the season opener.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically what I just almost what I predicted the week before, what I hoped for. Just a lot of green racing where they kind of just felt each other out and rode some laps. And Cameron was quick earlier. I don't know what quite happened to him. I know he was leading when I was watching for quite a bit of it. And yeah, I watched the end of it on the way home on my phone. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it was perfect. Like there was a little bit contact, quite a bit, but Stewie did get Trayton loose to get by him.
Mm-hmm.
So then Trayton fed it back to him on the last lap, and they didn't clean each other out. They both finished 1-2, and if you're gonna bump and bang a little bit, that's all you can ask for is the two guys finish 1-2 doing it, and
Yep.
not one guy spun out and the other guy with the awkward victory lane.
Yeah. One and because especially because they were teammates too. 125 ended up for the 22
Yes.
racing team. So good to see there. I wanted to ask what you thought of Jake Sheridan.
Oh, what else could you ask for? A golden opportunity for our boy Jakey. Christopher Bell could make her over the border, and then I just found out when I just heard his interview earlier on YouTube there or Facebook or whatever, and he said he had an opportunity to run it earlier in the year and it fell through. So to pick up that's what I said to him when I saw him earlier. And I'm like, just keep the fenders on it, man, and run a good race, and maybe they'll give you a shot on one of the paved tracks. And hope they give him a shot on one of the paved tracks. That'd be awesome to see. I know Jakey wants to get that.
Yeah, he certainly mixed it up with, I believe it was Cameron that was super unhappy with him at the end of the race because they were leaning on each other. But Jake did what he had to do to get the spot, and I get that Jake's a rookie. I get that Jake's a dirt ringer for these guys, and Cameron's going
He's
for a
not even a dirt
championship.
ringer though. Not at all. Like that was his first start on dirt,
No,
other
that's
than
what
a
I'm.
practice session in a crazy sprint, I think.
But he's not a serious regular. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
he's a ringer, right? That they called in for this event, and he just I was impressed. I was impressed, and I don't think Cameron can be as upset as he seemed to be running all over Jake at the end of the race. There, I didn't love that as much, but yeah, I the Pinty Six Series was a success in my opinion. I thought the race on dirt was good. Also, got to give a shout out to Dave Bailey. started 12th, brought it home 12th in his debut in the Pinty series, and I hope he's another one that I hope gets some shots at some of the paved racings, because we know that just as much as he's dominant on dirt, he's got a lot of success over at Flamborough as well. So
Yep, 5 Flamborough track championships. I saw that. I know they were hoping for a little bit more
mhm.
than 12th in there. They're up 7th. I know Bobby Slack doesn't go to the tractor on 12th, so I can guarantee you they were hoping for a little bit
Yeah,
more, but everyone was congratulating Dave, and would have been cooler if he was getting stuck in the wrong lane. That's what sucks about double file restarts if the track's pretty dominant like it was for
yeah,
them around the top. So that hurts to get stuck in the wrong lane and stuff like that.
yeah,
But yeah, decent run.
yeah. I talked to Dave after the race, and that's basically what he had to say. And I think he's going to come up on the show soon, and we'll talk to him more about his experience. But yeah, it was just the idea that you end up in the wrong lane late in the race, and you go from running seventh where he was lined up, and then you just kind of slide back to 12th because you can't get back in line or whatever. But when he was in line, he definitely figured something out. Like so, uh, all in all, great racing, great weekend, great to be a fan again and not super busy. Wanted to shout out Graydon Bunn from the Stickers and Scuffs podcast. They do a great job covering the Pinty series all year long. I get to meet him. I get to meet Olivia Whistle, who is stepping up covering the social media for NASCAR Pinty series. Her dad was also a CASCAR racer back in the day, and found out that Sam Fellows' car is actually her dad's old chassis. So that and probably old body too, considering it's still a Chevy Impala when everybody else is running the Camaro nose on the Pinty series. And it was just great. Everybody that I got to meet from different podcasts, different media, it was good to meet Mark Urban Video. If you like sports car racing or IndyCar racing, he works with Dalton Kellett, Canadian driver. Good to finally meet Mark after being an admirer of his work for a long time. Just a lot of people came out to that event, and it was a really, really super cool time. And it sounds like there's at least 2 more of these things going to happen at Ohsweken next year and the year after. So I'm looking forward to it. And okay, we'll end it off on this. So it was a success for the first one. Give me one guy from the States, whether it be NASCAR, whether it be a sprint car guy, whatever. One guy locally that you want to see get a shot in the NASCAR Pinty Series race next year at Ohsweken.
Ooh, I want to see Dalton Slack in the 36. I'm not gonna lie.
Ooh, all right. You want to see
Mm,
Dalton get okay. All right, and who's your guy out of the States? Who you want to see, whether it be a NASCAR guy, whether it be somebody else that comes to
Hmm.
mind?
Well, Seabell couldn't come up this year, so he's out of the question. Larson's already been done so many times.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I got a name for you.
I don't know, like
This might be the
Briscoe's
last year
won the
we.
truck race at Eldora and stuff, so Chase Briscoe or something,
Yeah, Briscoe's a
something
good
like
pick.
that.
I would say I want to see. I want to see Tyler Reddick come up. If we're gonna get a NASCAR
Yours is
guy,
better than mine.
Tyler Reddick come up and race with us. Yeah,
Tyler's already been to
I
us
mean
weekend.
Briscoe's a great answer
A
though.
lot of
If
people
like,
forget that. Yeah,
yeah,
he's
right.
way back.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Roosevelt late
saying. I
model
think
days in like 2008 and 9 or 7 and 8, something like that. So yeah, he's already been there back when he was a little redheaded kid,
probably
like
when he
the
had.
tiniest little teenager you've ever seen. It was fun, so funny back then.
Is that when he had the
Yeah,
hair
super
down to the
shag,
shoulders too?
ginger shag.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say I want to see. I want to see Tyler Reddick as a ringer from the stateside, and I want to see. I want to see Matty. I want to see Matt Williamson jump in one.
I like it. Yeah.
Right. I think those are 2 good ones. Maybe we'll put that out on the socials too. We had a couple of ringers come through this year. Who do you want to see? Give us a pick. One local driver, one guy out of the states, whether it be from a World of Outlaws, whether it be from NASCAR, whatever it might be. You can tweet us at sods_pod on Twitter, at sods_pod on Instagram, and Southern Ontario Dirt Show on Facebook. Let us know who you want to see in the Ohsweken Pinty Series race next year. And on that note, I think it's time we start talking some drivers. Uh, Up next, well, driver and crew chief this week, Dalton Slack. Up first, though.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
All right, it's the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. We are live with Dalton Slack. I guess it's not truly live. We're taping it technically. But Dalton, welcome to the show. Thanks for being a part of this and jumping on with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Travis has been telling me about it, and I've been trying to keep up and listen to it as I drive up to the shop. And I told Travis a little while ago. I said, "Man, I got to get on this one day." He said, "Well, maybe if you win." So I guess I got lucky this week, and I'm here. So
I don't know if it was more than luck. You started out front in the modifieds at Merrittville, and you were able to hang up there pretty good, and you did a great job fending off Gary Lindbergh in the end there. So talk to us about that drive and finally getting your first win.
yeah, absolutely. I I don't know. I think it's a little bit of luck, but at the same time, I thought everything clicked really well. Definitely, we were fast. We normally suck in practice, so when we have speed in practice, we know it's going to be a good night. I think we were second fastest in practice, and went out in our heat race, and cars probably felt the best it's felt all year, and had a good showing in the heat race. And the week before, we lost just about all of our brakes, so we had a DNF, so that lined us up pretty good with the handicap, and started on that outside pole, and just kind of took my time and rolled around the 73 car and just made sure I hit my marks and all that, and kind of started driving away, but most definitely I hit that lap traffic, and it was tough. I think I had the three cars in front of me there for a little bit, and they were telling me I had a big lead until I caught them cars, but I just took my time and I was patient, and I just made sure that I can't go barreling off in there and hit somebody and spin out, and I got past them, and then that caution came out, and I had about well, just about everybody came up to me afterwards and said, "Ah, probably didn't want to see that caution." I said, "Well, I think I did because it cooled me down. To be honest, I was getting a little antsy in the car watching that lap counter go down. I was like, 30 laps to go. Here we go. It's starting to feel real." And then the caution came out, so I kind of just took a couple deep breaths and hit my marks and had a good restart. And I guess the rest is history.
Yeah, you were talking all week about how you're finally into handicapping because you just came back about a little over a month ago. So just talk about keeping your head in the game all week, and like when you're in the handicapping, like you're going to get a good start if you do a good job in your heat. So just talk about thinking about that all week and how you kept yourself psyched.
Yeah, the handicapping I was kind of excited about. I was like, I feel like I think it's like 3 weeks until you get the handicap, so we were kind of grinding it out. We were starting like 12th and 10th, and we finally got a decent position. And I'm like, well, the night before actually, I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw Zach Payne won his first race and a couple others. I'm like, man, I kind of got a good feeling about this weekend. I didn't tell nobody because I didn't want to jinx it, but we had that handicap, and all week I was just telling myself, just stay cool and stay calm, and I just tried to do that, and I think I did it pretty well, and it obviously paid off. I finally got that first win. I feel like I just got a bunch of pressure off of my shoulders. I think driving that historic 3RS for dad and grandpa, and I felt like I've had a lot of pressure lately, but now that I finally got that win, I feel like I could just go out there and just prove to people that I belong there, and I'm there to have fun, but also this is a pretty important hobby to us, and go out and prove that Bicknell cars and that Bobby Slack's the smartest man.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's awesome. You mentioned the family history. There's one family member that I thought I heard was not in attendance. Is it true your mom was away and missed your first win?
Yeah. So the only weekend she was gone with her girlfriends up north. And right before, actually, I was strapping in the car, and Dad's like, "Well, I'd love you to win, but remember, your mother's not here. I want your mom to be here for your first win." And I was like, I got to try and win this because that was probably one of my best shots. So I uh, I was kind of struck when I got back into tech. I was like, man, we won, and then I just was I was like, man, I wish she was here. So I called her right after, and she was so excited. She said, I don't even care if I'm there or not. It was just obviously she cared, but she was like, I'm just so happy for you. So I really can't thank everybody enough. My mom, my dad, my grandparents, both sides of my grandparents, and everybody just for supporting me and just keep going, keep making me keep going every week and make sure that my head's in the game.
Don't forget Elliot.
Oh yeah, and Elliot. Elliot's always there. He was my main man. He always pumps me up during the week. When I'm tired, he always tells me to stop being, little wimp and to man up. And I guess we manned up on Saturday.
You definitely did. You said we always thought you belonged, but to pick a win within a month of coming back definitely shows you definitely got your head on your shoulders in that time you took your off there. Do you want to talk a little bit about the decision to take the year off? Definitely seems to work out in the long run.
Yeah, most definitely. I was hoping I could clear this up a little bit. I know a lot of people have been asking, so I'll
I've been
make
asked
it
a million
long.
times.
Yeah,
That's
I'll
me.
make it long but short. But
Perfect.
basically, last year, probably just about this time, actually, it was probably a week or two ago. Around this time last year, I was just down on my luck. I just I was running bad, and we had so many problems. We had the second year we had steering box problems, and last year we had motor problems, and we couldn't figure that out, and just felt like I was beating my head against a brick wall, and I was just down on my luck. I was like, you know what, maybe just take a step back. Sometimes you got to take a step back and punt, and that's what I did. And so told dad and grandpa, and they supported me 100%, and it was kind of good actually because we got Danny O'Brien back in the car. He wasn't in the car, or he hasn't been in a car for a long time. So I was happy he got back into it, and he picked up that win at Brighton, and that was actually my first race I went back to watch in 2 months or whatever, and he won, so I was happy, and I got very fortunate. I had great people behind me that supported me, and I got back into a go kart for a little while. As you know, I raced those prior to getting into the modified, and we had pretty good success with those. So got back into the go kart, had some good success in that, picked up some wins, and just mainly tried to focus on getting the fun back into it, and just mainly being like, if my head is, if I'm just so down on my luck, I just got to keep my head up. I just got to keep pushing. And anyways, fast forward to this year, about a month ago. I had a good talk with our head welder at BRP, Randy Ellison T-Ball, as many people know him. He gave me a real good talk, and he just told me, you belong up there, and you got a lot of talent, and it's kind of nice hearing it from other people because it's hearing it from your parents. It's like I believe you, but at the same time, you think maybe they're just telling you that because they don't want to see you down. But hearing it from other people was great, and the stars aligned, and I kind of got into a test session on a Thursday night at Merrittville with Glenn Stiers, and it went pretty well. And then the next weekend we came back, and it was a great showing. I think I went from last to first in my heat race and got nipped on a caution, finished second, and started 12th and drove my way up to, I think I was passing for fifth. Got in a little kerfuffle there, and I think we just about finished ninth or whatever. But it's and then just from there, just been grinding and keep my head up and just keep pushing through it and talking to a lot of great people, like Tim Fuller and Matt Shepard and everybody. As you would know, they have long history, and everything about them. They say Tim Fuller told me, just sleep it off, just take one night, sleep it off. So I just slept all my bad nights off, and this week I guess was the week, and finally got it done, I guess.
So that's really great, Dalton. But I wanted to ask, with that time off in the year, was there ever a thought to jump into a different series beyond karting? When maybe I need to take a step back to sportsman, maybe I need to take a step back into a mod light, or try to find a ride or a program like that to rebuild your confidence? Or did you trust in your abilities to get back into a modified after this time off?
Um, I most definitely had a couple people contact me and ask, if I was interested running a sportsman. I I definitely thought about it for a while, and it it interests me, but I didn't want to go and do it without my family. Definitely the Slack family is very close. We're all very close. Um, I don't think I would have felt comfortable without, my dad turning the wrenches and grandpa changing gears and doing gas, and it just would have felt way different. And so I just kind of waited. I just kind of did what I knew was best for me and stayed in carts. And actually, carts kind of just taught me just to slow down, just to take a step back and just to look at my decisions, because I was wrenching on it by myself and I was doing all that stuff. And, we weren't going to little kart races where there's 4 or 5 carts. We were going down to weed sport and racing state races against, 25, 30 go-karts. And we showed speed, and, had some top fives and some bad luck. And I think that bad luck was good for me because I kept my head up. And I think it was just the right decision. I think it was, I've always said this, that everything happens for a reason. And I guess that reason was just for Saturday. Everything led up to Saturday was, that win. So everything beyond that point was just, it happened because it happened, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. So just talk about being Bobby Slack's kid a little bit, and growing up with Bob as your dad, and how you became an awesome welder too, like awesome race car driver. But a lot of people don't realize what a kick-ass welder you are too. You doing all the cars now with T-ball, and just talk about that.
Yeah, so I remember when you guys first started this. I remember when you and I were talking about we got to get Dad on, because that would probably be, the best episode, because he's got so many good stories and everything. Most definitely. Dad started or made me start working when I was young. He used to take me to the machine shop and throw me into the machine shop on weekends, and I think I was 9 or 10, and working with all the guys and just trying to make me, the hardest worker that I can. And I didn't work there until now. I kind of took a took a step back and kind of just moved away and worked some other good jobs and did some fun stuff, growing up teenager years. And then kind of skipped the college route and got hired full time with, obviously, at Picknell Racing Products, and was working there and still working there at the time, and kind of my dad's right hand man, and whatever he says I do. And been welding race cars probably about full time for about a year now. And I love it. I just love every second of it. It's repetitive, but I like repetition because it's no different than racing. Racing's the same thing every week. You just get yourself in different situations, and I feel like we're working is the same way. It's the same thing, but every day is a new day, and you do new stuff, and you weld new race cars, and it's great. I love it. I don't think I'm as good as you, Travis. I think you're a better welder than I am, but I don't know. It's fun. Hopefully one day Travis and I will weld race cars together, and then we'll talk about podcast ideas and all that.
Oh, I'm sure we'll get there eventually, and yeah, we both can definitely hold our own, no doubt about it on that front, no doubt.
Yeah. So
It's funny. My brother's a welder too, and he runs like basically his entire Instagram account is just welding now. So it's funny hearing you guys nerd out whether you're working on big buildings or whether you're building race cars. You welders are all the same. You're all nerds.
yeah. I think it's just taking pride in your work. Honestly, I think, anytime I have a nice weld or a really good one, I sneak my phone and take a picture, and I think, man, if anyone ever comes and asks me, I say, here, this is what I do, and they're like, wow, like that's pretty nice. Not to make myself sound good, but I think people don't realize how nice our products are at BRP and how much time and effort we put into all of our products, and all of our stuff is, A1, and everything is just, it's got to be perfect, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So I guess the question is,
Yeah.
Dalton, what are you expecting now? You got your first win under your belt. You're back in the race car. Looking ahead to the future, do you have any goals that you're working towards, or anything you want to set for 2023 and beyond?
That's a good question. I definitely thought about that, the Sunday I was watching the race car in the morning. Um, right now, I just like to finish out the season strong. I still got a good amount of races. Obviously, with coming back a little bit later into the season, uh, Dad and Grandpa had races scheduled with other guys, so I didn't want to cut into their time or anything like that because that's not fair. But I think I want to finish this year strong. I would love to win more races, but I think that's not the right mindset. I think just having solid top five runs is a good thing, and I think I got to set my expectations a little bit higher, a little bit lower actually, and just make sure I exceed them every night. As for 2023, um, I would like to race as much as I can, just but being busy at work and all that, it's can't travel to places on Sundays and doing all that stuff. But I would definitely like to get maybe a couple more wins or prove to people that I do belong and definitely go down to the States and try to get there because it's great competition here and everything, but I think you get more recognition running places like Weed Sport and doing all that stuff. And I think the 358 series is a great starting point because I think you're going to go there and you're going to struggle, but then you're going to have your nights where you're going to run good and people are going to recognize you and all that stuff. So um, I'm not going to say that I got big goals, but I think next year's goals are definitely just travel a little bit more and just have some solid runs and prove to people that I belong. And yeah, that I think that's about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, like we said at the shop, 2026 Big Block Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, yeah. That gives me some enough time. It gives me probably 3 or 4 years. So
Yeah.
maybe maybe even next year. Maybe next year I get lucky and we go to this Canadian big block series they've been having and maybe go up there once and try the big block and do all that stuff. It's there's a
Yeah,
lot of,
definitely get some starts in for sure.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and have no expectation. Just go in there and
Yep.
if it's an 100 lap race, just put a solid 100 laps together and just come out as one piece and everybody's happy, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And we talked about it a little bit before you joined us, Dalton. We were talking about, Matt Williamson, where's he's at in his career, and I think you guys probably got your first win around roughly the same age. So, the sky can be the limit, and you can really go whatever direction you want in your career. And it seems like you got a good head on your shoulders. Obviously, you got a good family behind you that is committed to helping you be the best driver, be the best guy you can be going forward. So we know that I think the Dalton Slack name is just the legend of Dalton Slack is just starting to get written.
I I hope that's true. I that Travis and I were talking about that the other day. I asked him. I said, "Would I be the youngest who ever won, or would it be Matt?" Because I knew Matt was really good when he first started racing modifieds and all that. And I just I think that I would like to follow his career, as in follow his lead and try and win the races he won and do all that stuff. And I can't say that he's my hero because I race against him every single week, but I do definitely look up to him and how smart he is and how he races and all that. And most definitely just a smart, cool, calm, collected racer, and I think that's what I would like to be when I grow up. And most definitely still work at BRP and still do all that stuff and still help everybody and learn more about race cars and all that. But most definitely win some bigger races and get my name out there.
Oh man. I'll give you just one more question. Like when you were growing up, I was the tech guy in go karts and stuff, and like the group was Dalton Slack, Josh Hansen, uh, Kyle Phillips, and Trevor Wright, and three of you have got your first wins this year in the upper echelon series that you run. And Trevor Wright, he's got a top three in the modified, and he's got a lot of top fives in the sportsman this year. He didn't quite get his motor ready for the 358 this year, but he's no slouch either. So just talk about your go kart battles with those four at Merrittville, and how cool it is that you guys are all in big cars now and kicking ass in those too.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I talked to Kyle Phillips today on the phone for a little bit, and most definitely, it all seems like we're all, doing good at one time. Kyle notched, I think, 2 or 3 wins on the SOS tour, and he's been giving it to them guys up there, and he's been really good. And Josh, I watched him at Ohsweken there Monday and Tuesday, and he's a hell of a driver. I give a lot of credit to Josh racing these guys, going out there and racing guys like Corey Turner and Ryan Turner. And, for the Nationals, you had Stu was there and Paulie and all them. And they're really good. And my boy Trevor, I love Trevor to death. He's always picking on me when I walk into the pits and all that, and saying that I'm doing no good. So hopefully he'll stop picking on me now. I finally got a win. He For the longest time he was actually doing better than I was, because I think my best finish before Saturday was
He did have you
I think it was
until
a
then.
fourth
Yeah,
at
he had you.
Cornwall a couple years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So now I one upped them. So no, but those guys, great group of guys that I raced with and growing up, and I don't think there's much competition that you'll ever get like that. Like, I think anybody could win on any night there, and those were the days when
Yeah.
you were the tech guy
Yeah, it was crazy
throwing
battles
everybody
between
out.
you guys, and yeah, almost too much for me. You know how go-karts is. Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, most definitely.
All right,
So
Johnny, hit him
it's
with the
fun.
question.
It is fun.
All right, this is the question we get everybody out of the interview with here, Dalton. So I'm going to give you one race car, one racetrack, anywhere in the world, any class of car. What's your pairing to drive one last time?
Oh man, you put
Mm-hmm.
me on the spot. Um,
Travis didn't prep you for this one.
wondering.
This is the
I
this is
thought
our
he would have
go-to
listened to it.
every
No.
interview. It's our
I
Corey
got what I
LaJoy
think he's going to
Memorial.
say. I thought about that today. I should have prepped him.
Man, that's tough because I've been listening to a
Okay.
lot of
How
Dale
about
Jr.'s
this?
podcast, and I hear like,
Give us like a
okay, tell me.
hypothetical one, like like a whatever, like a fantasy world car track combo, and then give us like a real life kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I can do that. I think most definitely a, a fantasy one, and you'll think I'm silly, but there's this go-kart race down south. It's called the Big O Tribute, and it is probably the coolest go-kart race ever. They got big limited flatheads on it, and they make the most noise and the most speed. And I think it's like 10,000 to win. And I've always wanted to race that in a weird way. It's probably more realistic, to be honest, because you can probably pay enough money to go down there and race for somebody. Um, but in a fantasy world, if I had all the money in the world, I'd just love to go down there and just race the best guys. Um, those guys down there are just, everybody thinks go-karts are so easy, but when you strap on a limited flathead and those things are making huge
30 plus.
horsepower and,
Yeah.
you touch the
Yeah.
gas. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the coolest thing is they're going down the straightaways hauling ass, and they're adjusting the carburetor, working on the carburetor as they're driving, and I think that
Yeah.
is probably one of the coolest races. And I think I'm just old school. I think I'm like my father. My father loves old school badass races like that. But in a fantasy world, I would I don't know. I don't even know what I would do. Probably something with NASCAR or something. I'd probably go somewhere where I can run some speed. I would probably like to go to Bristol or
Dover. I like
Dover
that.
and maybe run a truck or yeah, yeah. I think Dover's underrated. Actually, I was listening to the Dale Jr. podcast, and they said Atlanta
Yeah.
with the new configuration, it's really really fast. So I think that would be cool
I like
too,
it.
most definitely.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think
I
it's
like that.
realistic.
I like that because I go karts was the only thing I did run. Ran the Arrive and Drive program out in Hamilton at the
Yeah.
Canadian Mini Indy, and I sucked in that. So I could only imagine what I was at the bottom of the barrel in terms of horsepower. I can only imagine what the flatheads are, what they would make.
Open flatheads.
Trying to keep that on the racetrack.
Yeah, open
Yeah.
flatheads and open modifieds too.
That is insane.
They're
Go-kart
wild.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Wild. All right, Dalton. Well, that's about all we got for you today. And I know you said you were nervous, but you crushed this interview. It was awesome. And I definitely am going to hold you to. We're going to have you back as well as some other Slack family members.
Guaranteed.
We're going to do a family podcast in the off season. I think guaranteed. So we'll have you back on, and good luck the rest of the season.
Awesome. Okay.
Giver.
Do you mind if I thank a couple people?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to do this. Most definitely just want to thank my parents, my mom, my dad for supporting me for, forever. My brother, my grandparents, most definitely my grandpa, Randy Slack, and my grandma. My other set of grandparents, Frank and Karen, and, all my family. My pit crew, Ross and Henry. It's funny, Henry and Ross are actually from my grandpa's original pit crew. So they've been working through all of it. Um, all my sponsors, most definitely Transport Sales and Service, Integra Shocks, Bicknell Racing Products, everybody who makes that car go around. Those are the big ones, but all the little ones, DMI, Burt, Kaiser Manufacturing, Budget powder coating and all that. Um, just everybody who is on that car. I'm sure I missed a couple. I think I
Should
did
have a
that in the
list.
interview too, but there are just so many stickers, on that car that make it go round and round. And I wouldn't be able to do it without them or without anybody's help. So I appreciate everybody so much, and I'm very, very thankful for the opportunity and
You
spot that
crushed it,
I'm in.
man.
Cheers to that.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I
Awesome.
appreciate it. Thanks for
No,
having
thank
me
you,
on.
buddy. We'll have you
No
back for
problem,
sure, I'm
buddy.
sure.
Good luck the rest of the way. Thanks for
See
taking
ya.
the time.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com, to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
And it is the time for the second interview of the week this week on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Our first crew chief, Kevin Loveys, turning wrenches and setting up a two-time winning race sprint car this week, grabbing not only the Sprint Car Nationals on Monday night at Ohsweken, but winning the next night on the NASCAR Pinty Series night. Kevin, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
I was just going to start
Yeah,
off
Kev,
with...
just talk.
Oh,
or,
go
yes,
for it,
you
Travis.
first, Johnny.
Oh, all right. I just
No,
want...
you first. You first.
I just wanted to know because, like, we all talk about crew chiefs. We all hear about crew chiefs in bigger series. We talk about team engineers in open wheel and stuff. But what does life for a crew chief at the racetrack really look like on race day in terms of setting up a sprint car?
Mostly it's just being prepared for, the track conditions and what the track's going to throw at you that particular evening. Obviously being prepared and having, your right tire selection and, so you can get the right stagger. That's probably the most critical thing when you're before you get to the track.
Yep. So Kev, talk about like a lot of people that listen to the podcast are modified guys, but all the sprint car guys know your story. But just talk about how you got into wrenching on sprint cars, and then your first gig, and then talk about leading up to your first outlaw gig at least.
Well, I guess it's like my dad used to take me to sprint car races since I was little. Like we go to Ransomville and Merrittville every weekend. And, I'd always ask him when I was little when the sprint cars were going to be there. Nothing against the modifieds or anything. I'm just a huge sprint car fan. Still a race fan in general. There's a lot of really sharp modified guys that are really good drivers, lots of good mechanics. But, I've just always been a sprint car guy. So, I think I was 16 or 17 and I was working at a shop, like an automotive shop in Burlington. And I was leaving the shop one day and I looked over and the guy next to me had a sprint car sitting in there. And, I was kind of floored that somebody around that area had one. And so I just walked in and started, talking to the guy, and it was Ryan Conium. So I just kind of said, hey, if you need any help, I'm a mechanic and, I'd love to go help you out. And that's just kind of where it started from there.
Cool. So then talk about working for Glenn the first time and moving on to the Poirier. And then Jessica's in there too. Talk about those three.
Yeah, it gets a bit confusing. I have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
So me and Ryan went to a bunch of ESS races, raced at Ohsweken. He ended up getting a ride and went, doing all-star stuff. So, he was driving for a car and they had their own crew guys and stuff. So, kind of didn't leave me out, but, I wasn't kind of needed with him at the track. And then Glenn ended up buying a car from him. So I just kind of went with the car and started working for Glenn. And, I was probably there for 3 or 4 years, and we started winning a lot of SOS races, and I was able to learn from some pretty smart guys when I was younger. And then I was offered a gig with the Native Poker team for Jessica. And then I went and did that for a couple years, and we had a bunch of success. And then I got an offer to go do an outlaw gig, and I figured now's the chance to see if I can do it, in the big league. So I went and did that for a while, and but that was tough at the beginning. That getting your ass kicked every night, makes you either makes you want to not be on the road, or it makes you work harder to try to make your stuff better. And so I kind of learned how to lose first before becoming where I was winning every 3 or 4 shows with Steve there. So
Yep.
it was definitely a humbling experience being out there getting my ass kicked.
So yeah, tell me. So like you didn't tell us like who you were crewing for. So give us that whole story and how like the phone call came. Tell us like how the phone call came and that whole gig got hooked together, because I've always wondered that story. Tell us how you got. Yeah.
It was just kind of a chance meeting. I ran into Campbell in the pits, and I kind of knew him just from being at the track and stuff before, and things were kind of falling apart. Not with Jessica, just with the team owner and stuff. And Jeremy offered me a gig to go on the road with him, and we were both kind of young guys, and we were definitely probably the youngest guys on the road. And so that's just kind of how the outlaw thing started.
Cool. And then you got anything, John?
That's awesome. I just wanted to I'm so curious from like the mechanical side of sprint car racing, like how you run 2 back-to-back nights with Paulie this week, and from my vantage point in the seats, it sure seems like the racetracks were basically 2 completely different racing services by the time you guys were running features. What goes on in your head? What are you looking for from either driver feedback or just what you can visually see that goes into how you approach a race car between heats and features and everything else?
Well, for me, it's I'm big on watching lap times. And I tell a lot of young guys to do it too. Like you get to the track, like even watch race monitor, even with the stopwatch, and just kind of pay attention all night to how much guys are slowing down. Like even if you see a mini stock slow down 4 seconds a lap from hot laps, and you got to think how far do I need to go with taking stagger away from the car and stuff like that to make it tighter. But honestly, a lot of the sprint car stuff comes down to what the driver wants to feel inside the car. What I've learned, if you got a really good driver in the car and you can give them the feeling that they want in the car, they're going to do the rest on the track. In my mind, it's 80% driver in a sprint car. You got to have a guy that's going to search around, be aggressive, and they got to know what they want to feel.
That's fascinating. So you can actually, kind of pick up from other series or other classes that might be racing on any given night, and maybe prepare yourself for what you're going to do and what you're going to talk about with your driver based on how a mini stock's running or how a Hoosier stock or whatever might be running.
Yeah, it was actually Daniel Lasowski actually taught me that. When he was on the road racing, he was sitting in the stands all night with the stopwatch, and he would stopwatch every class that went out. Heat race, B main, whatever was out there. That kind of gives you a good indication of what the track's going to do and how fast it's slowing down, or if you see a street stock pick up 2 seconds in the B main from his heat race, maybe the track's got rubber on it. It's just more info. The more variables you can take out of it, in my mind, the better you're going to be. So you can make better decisions on what you're going to do to the car, and maybe talk to the driver where to run and stuff like that. So I try to pay attention to the whole night, not just when we're on the track.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Fascinating.
That's an awesome explanation. And I love that you said it's 80% driver in sprint car, because that's what I say all the time too. And, sometimes I'm not 80% up to it, but yeah, it's definitely 80% driver. And I couldn't agree with you more. Okay, so we took a little break in the career of Kevin Loveys. So now you've talked a little bit about with Steve. So talk about helping Steve become the winningest ESS driver. I know that was one of your biggest accomplishments, along with winning the Nationals with him. And then you moved back to GSR for the last couple of years, and then the departure there, and then your resurgence with Paulie coming up with your first guys race together was a podium with the World of Outlaws at Weedsport.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a pretty special night to run third against those guys, and honestly, we were all over Donnie for second with a couple to go until the caution came out. So, but Paulie's really good on the slick stuff. So, and obviously, racing with Steve in New York, I got pretty knowledgeable at those tracks, and I'm not going to say we were like super exceptional that night. I mean, we were good, but I think a lot of the Outlaw guys and the 410 guys struggle on that stuff. So it closes up the gap between the competitions because you don't need killer engines. It comes down to more with the driver knowing the track and having a good setup for the slick stuff. Because that night at Weedsport, I would say it was probably just as slick or slicker than Ohsweken on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the setups weren't all that different between the two.
Oh, so it almost served as like a test session. You were ready for it. I see. Now it's all starting to come together.
Well, we got an all-star race there this Sunday, so I'm pretty excited to go back for the all-star race.
Yeah, you're there right now, right? You're at Paulie's shop or on the way anyway?
Well, I'm still on my way, but I should be there about an hour. Just cruising down the interstate. Actually, I found a Tim Hortons in Rochester.
10-4. All right, so do you want to talk about breaking the record with Poirier and then going to Glenn and then the breakup a little bit? Don't give us that much. Just give us a little bit of it. Give us whatever you want. Yeah, we have to ask you.
Yeah, I get it. I worked for Steve for 10 years, and they're a great family, great racing family, great people. I mean, they treated me like gold, and we worked well together. Steve's, as you know, Steve's a hell of a driver.
Mm-hmm. And
then you just to race in New York and the ESS and the Patriots, you got to be good in the slick to be successful, and you got to have your stuff together when you get to the track, and then that's kind of where I learned how to race on a budget still. Like Steve's got a successful business, but he wants to keep it that way, so he wasn't going to go out of business racing. And, I learned how to, make things last and, fix stuff instead of just replacing on the road with the Outlaws. You don't fix stuff. You just put new stuff on the car. But I mean, when you got all week to get your car ready, you got to make things last because as you know, Travis, it gets really expensive.
Yep. I can attest to that for sure.
And then, there's guys like Steve that are, they're still well funded and they spend the money, where they need to without being, wasteful. But, that comes back. I got a lot of respect for guys like you that just do it kind of out of your own pocket and do it for the love of it. So.
Thanks, Kev. I needed that Monday when I crashed into the wall and didn't make the show, but I felt a lot better Tuesday when I timed in through time trials.
You'll have them nights, especially in the sprint car.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the win, like with Glenn and like winning with a couple of races with Hoopinen and Aaron Turkey? You got him his first win.
Yeah, that was, Glenn kind of asked me a few times the last few years if I wanted to come back. And at first it was kind of like a timing thing. Me and Steve wanted to win another championship. I can't remember how many we ended up with. 8, I think.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. And then, we got to, I can't remember what the record was exactly, 74 or something. And then the next year we kind of went on a tear and I think we won 12 and he kind of had a goal to get to 100. So, I don't think we quite got there with ESS, but between Patriots, I think we got 120 something feature wins in 10 years.
Sweet.
Wow.
And then, so then I was in Quebec for 10 years and I kind of wanted to come home. So I talked to Glenn one day and, he wanted to do a parts store and stuff. And I figured that would kind of be a good way to get me back around home and not have to be traveling as much, and then, COVID came and kind of shook the whole world up, not just that deal. So,
yeah. You still got Aaron Turkey his first win. That's what I was proud of you guys that night.
Yeah. I mean,
that was the COVID year too.
Yep. I think we only raced 6 times that year and, Aaron did a hell of a job and, all those guys at GSR for the last 3 years, like Aaron, Wes, Riley, Brando, TJ. All those guys are like brothers to me. So,
Yeah.
I miss seeing them guys at the shop every day, but that whole deal just is a dumpster fire, to tell you the truth. So it was kind of blessing in a disguise to get out of there. And, I've known Paul for a long time. We've been friends. So he's kind of been bugging me for a couple years to go work for him too. So, kind of worked out timing wise that way. And, the last kind of month has been a lot of fun. It was back to being fun at the track and not having to look after 4 cars and pulling my hair out every night. And it's working out good so far.
No doubt. Got your second nationals as crew chief.
Yeah, that was, a lot of people are giving me credit for. A lot of people are giving me credit, but I don't want anybody to take anything away from Paulie. Like, he drove a hell of a race, and that kid has got a ton of potential. And
absolute wheel man.
He knows what he wants to feel, and when I give it to him, I mean, I think we'll be on the front straightaway a lot.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny that was kind of where I wanted to go with my next question was, what do you think the potential, or what do you think the ceiling is with a guy like Paulie right now, who maybe some of us that are more based in the modified world, or maybe some of us who are more local track guys that don't have sprint cars like me at Merrittville, where do you think the potential of Paulie is going forward? Where do you foresee the ceiling on what you guys have already started?
I mean, honestly, it's his dad. I think the kid's ready to go on the road 410 racing, but funding is going to be a problem. I mean, his dad does pretty well, but I mean, it costs a lot of money. Like, you're probably $2-3 million to go on the road with the Outlaws right now to do a whole season. So
yeah,
that's that's not easy to manage and organize and making sure your stuff's together before you even go. So I think they're kind of looking at that Larson Sweet deal next year, which will be lots of exposure for the kid, and not as a grueling a schedule as racing 90 times. So if we did that deal, we can kind of still run around the All-Stars and Outlaw shows in New York and close to home, and then hit the big 360 races.
Yep, I like that.
That's a good plan.
I was going to ask you.
The thing with the Outlaws, though, is if you're a contracted driver, like, those guys get, I don't know what the number is anymore, but probably $2,000 to show up at the track every night. $800 start money. So that's what keeps those guys going up and down the road.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, like, an all-star schedule? If you skip the nationals and like the Kings Royal and the ones that aren't all-star shows, like just the all-star races only. You said $2 million for the Outlaws. What do you think the all-stars would do?
Well, I mean, after you have your equipment, like, I think you're still going to spend with the All-Stars. I mean, their schedule's not as grueling as the Outlaws, obviously, and their schedule's kind of more, I'd say, laid out better, where they're kind of not traveling such a distance between tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure the top teams on the All-Stars are probably spending close to $1 million, like with diesel fuel right now. And I heard right rear tires were $400 a piece at Knoxville.
Wow.
Yikes.
If you have a bad couple weeks and hurt a couple motors, it can get really expensive really fast. Junk a couple cars, and you almost got to kind of expect that to happen during the season, because it's inevitable in a sprint car. You're gonna hurt a motor eventually. You're gonna junk a car. Hopefully you can spread them out where they're not happening, one night after the other, because that's when it gets difficult.
Yep,
for sure.
Awesome.
Well, I wanted to put
love the insight.
I wanted to put a little crew chief twist on a question that we ask, where we talk about we ask drivers sometimes about their dream car and track combination. So I'm going to give it to you from a crew chief's perspective. Is there a driver out there, maybe past, we'll go past or present, driver past or present in the world, that you wanted to go and turn the wrenches for, be a crew chief for, in any sort of racing? Doesn't have to be sprint cars, doesn't have to be on dirt, it can be across any board. Who would you want a crew chief for, past or present, in terms of a driver?
I don't know. I never really thought about that. I mean, there's a bunch of young kids right now that are, that are looking pretty exceptional for their age. Like that Ryan Timms kid, I think he's going to be a badass. Paulie's right there with them. I think Paulie will need probably a little more experience running cushions and stuff like that on heavier racetracks, because it's not something he's you just don't get experience on that stuff when you race in the Northeast. There's just not many tracks that are cowboy up on a cushion.
Yep.
Yeah, when I was on the road with Tony Bruce, I got to see Larson run his first 410 race when he was like 14. And that was at I remember
That's
that
cool.
night because it was Chico, California. And I remember, everybody talking about this guy, and I think he missed a transfer spot out of the B main by one spot, and I was like, well, that guy's not very good, but I had no idea he was 14 at the time. So so I remember seeing him in the pits later that night, and he walked by, and I was like, holy cow, that's just a little kid driving that car. So that was pretty impressive. And we all know what he's done since then. So
Yep. Yeah, you've got so many little stories like that. We should do one in the winter on the road with Kevin Loveys and get a couple beers in you and open you up and just get a couple on the road stories, because you've got so many good ones like that that we can save for later.
I got a million of them being on the road. There's lots of cool stuff you get to see and do. Yeah. And, I mean, it's not all fun and games. A lot of work, long hours. But yeah, I mean, if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be asking you if you wanted fries with your order in the drive-thru. So.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. Well, thank God I can weld a little bit with a MIG. Jeez.
And it's a good thing you got a knack for setting up these race cars and finding some talented drivers to work with work for. Awesome to see what you pulled off on Monday and Tuesday.
I've been pretty fortunate to work with,
go for it.
To learn from the best guys in the sprint car world. So I was super fortunate to learn from guys like Rob Hart when I was really young. When I was at TSR with Jessica, I got to learn from Ricky Warner. Just been fortunate enough to, pick a lot of guys' brains that have been doing it longer than I've been alive. Jimmy Carr was a big help at TSR. Another Canadian.
Fellow Canadian.
Who else? Yep. There's a bunch of guys. Deuce Terrell, when I was really young, he kind of helped me out a little bit. Rob Hart was probably the most influential guy on me, though. Even Brian, picking Brian Kavanaugh's brain.
Yep.
But they'll just they'll help you, but they're not going to tell you their secrets. They'll just give you little bits of information and kind of kick you out of their trailer and say you figure it out after that. But
yeah.
Now there's some guys that will bullshit you. No, those guys are
not those guys you just said.
Guys that have been super successful and done it for a long time. So, I mean, I might bullshit a driver a little bit about what I'm doing, but I wouldn't bullshit a crew chief, another crew chief, and stuff like that. Just, I don't want to see somebody do something to a car and then somebody go out and crash and get hurt or something. So.
Yep. Hear you.
Oh, awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time out tonight, and we'll let you get back on the road. And good luck this weekend with Paulie. Congratulations again on the win in the Sprint Car Nats and winning on Tuesday as well. Keep up the good work, keep up the success, and we'll definitely catch up with you in the off season. We got to hear some more on the road stories.
Yeah, no problem. It'd be fun.
Yeah, go.
And that was a pretty special.
Go get that 410 win.
Yeah, that's my plan this weekend. I'm pretty motivated, and that this
no doubt.
Past couple days
you should be
pretty special with Paulie. So. I'll remember that for a long time.
Yeah, keep it rolling. He's hot.
Yep, thanks, guys.
Going to be riding into, where's it, Utica Rome, and what's Saturday? What are the two this weekend?
Outlaw Speedway Friday, Utica Rome on Saturday, and Weedsport on Sunday.
Nice.
Awesome, 3 in a row. Perfect. I'll be watching on Flow.
Yeah, they're all on Flow, and hopefully we can be on the podium again, and it would be really awesome to get him his first 410 win. So.
Yep, we're pulling for you. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, bye.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.